welcome to another episode of the Kiki Show, coming to you from wherever, you know. Now, we are here in the season of love, and you all know, honey, Kiki just loves love. And other things involved with it. Anyway, we have a very special little episode for you today. I'm going to be your cupid, and you know those cupid ain't stupid, honey. And we're going to make some lovely, lovely candy for your sweethearts. If you don't have a sweetheart, you can eat it yourself and pretend like you do. Postman don't know no difference if you mail it to yourself, honey. So, we're going to start to make a little bit of hot candy, but it's fairly easy. And we're going to need granulated sugar, some water, some corn syrup, light corn syrup. Well, watch it out for you know. Some food coloring. Some candy flavoring. Oh, isn't it so cute? And just a little bit of whimsy. And you know that is my specialty, honey. So, let's get started, shall we? Now, before we get started, we're going to take some silicone molds. You don't necessarily need to buy molds if this is going to be a one-off thing. You can take a cutting board or another flat surface, cover it with some parchment, honey, and we can simply mold those out freehand, which will give us some interesting shapes, you know what I mean? But for this experiment, we're going to be using some simple silicone molds. I'm going to be making 3 flavors, strawberry, watermelon, and grape. So I have extra pans for my extra flavors. We'll get to that later. But for now, I'm going to just give it a quick lube. I'm going to spray my little sponge down. Give it a little touch of cooking spray. You can probably use vegetable oil for this if you want, but I went on my cooking spray because, quite frankly, it has less of a flavor than some oil. Alright. There we go. You don't want to have too much, which is why this little sponge comes in handy. So we can do a nice light little layer there with no problems. There we go. Okay. I got a little too much in that one. And we can go ahead and start this one. There we go. Just very light layer. Which is why I'm spraying it on the sponge first before I put it in the mold. And then I'm going back over after I've done it to make sure I soak up any other little globs of cooking spray, because we do not want that. We want these to mold nicely and then to release nicely. And make sure you get it into all the little nooks and crannies there. There we go. Alright. Oh, perfect. Alright. Now those can be set aside and they will be ready for us when we are done cooking up our special sugar mixture here. Okay. Now we are ready to start cooking, honey. Now as you can see, I took out extra pots and I'm going to leave them right there so they get a little bit extra heat on them. We don't want to put it in there and have them cool the mixture so quickly that we can't use it. Make sure you keep that in mind. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and start adding. We have 3/4 of a cup of water. 2/3 of a cup of light cornmeal. Woo! It's going to take a minute. It's a little chilly in here, honey. It's not moving very quickly, if you get my drift. I'll just help that along some. There we go. Okay. And then we have 2 cups of just white granulated sugar. Go ahead and pour those in. Okay. Now the sugar and the corn syrup are going to heat up and make what is essentially candy glue. And the water we have in there as a binding agent, it will help dissolve all of this sugar and also help keep it heating evenly so we don't have any burnt sugar in any one area. We want the heat to distribute evenly, and the water will help with that. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on medium. And we're going to let this cook at medium for about 3 minutes. See if we can get it to a boil. We want to get all that sugar dissolved in there. Okay. Also on hand, I have just a cup of water and a pastry brush. And what we're going to do is, once this starts bubbling, we're going to take our pastry brush, dip it in the water just a little bit, and use it to wash the sugar down the side so we don't get hard crystals forming there. Okay. We can go ahead and cover that up and let that go for 3 minutes. Now we can take the lid off here a little bit. Maybe turn it up a little bit higher. You don't want to jostle too much. You don't want to make extra work for yourself when it comes to the next step. Okay. Just give it a little stir here and there. And put the lid back on. Okay. It's starting to bubble up that nicely there. Okay. As you can see, the sugar is not quite dissolved yet, so it's going to need a little bit extra stirring, a little bit of heat. Okay, that's been our 3 minutes. We're going to just give it a little extra stir because it didn't look like our sugar's dissolved quite as much as I wanted it to here. Okay, I think it's alright. It's just starting to bubble a little bit, which is good. That's what we want. Alright. We're going to turn this up very slightly to medium-high heat. And we're going to go ahead and put in our candy thermometer. You can also use this for frying. If you do not have a candy thermometer, that is okay. Make sure it doesn't touch the bottom. You can leave it on medium-high heat. Make sure that you keep a bucket of ice water here. Well, a bowl of ice water, excuse me. Normal-ness. And go ahead and drizzle a little bit in there whenever it starts to, after it starts to bubble. If it turns to a hard crack, which is what this is, what we're looking for here. It's called the hard crack stage. I know, right? I'm not saying nothing, honey. So once it turns into the hard crack stage, as opposed to the moderate crack stage, you can go ahead and take it off the heat. It's going to be a little bit. We don't want to overdo the heat. You want to just take this slow. It's a little bit too busy here. Alright, and as you can see, once it gets up to about 260, we're going to let it sit until it hits 300 and then immediately take it off. And I'm going to go ahead and start with my pastry brush, washing the sides down. Essentially what we're doing here is just cooking out the water, the binding agent that we have to heat evenly. So all we're left with is the cooked down sugar and the corn syrup. It'll be just as sweet as me, honey. Oh, you know it. Maybe not quite. Well, knows I melt in the rain. Oh. Very gently, not a little lot. Just keeping the sides clean so we don't get any big crystallized sugar up here. Okay. As you can see, it has this lovely clear color now. Okay, that's good for now. We can set that aside. And check on our temperature. I'm going to just slide this over here. Whoop. So everyone can see it a little bit better. I hope. Okay. As with all thermometers, we do not want it touching the bottom. Okay. Let's make the bumpers up just a tiny bit. We have a good bit of water in there to keep our sugar from scorching so that it can get up to the desired temperature that we need so everything will set up properly. Oh, this thing's giving me no end of grief today. Woo! Oh. Well, it wasn't very small, was it? Woo! Let's do that. There we go. Okay, much better. Alright, and we sit back and we do nothing at this point, honey. No stirring needed. Or wanted, for that matter. Hit our little water brush again. And be very careful not to put any excess moisture down in here. There we go. Make sure you get around our thermometer without actually hitting it. Here we go. All right. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but we're getting a little bit of color in our sugar. As long as it doesn't go too far, that's fine. see it's still slowly climbing up. You might need to bump the heat up just a little bit at a time. We do not want to go too fast with this. Well, we don't want to go too slow because we don't want to cook out all the water and then burn our sugar before we hit the mark. It's still looking good and it's still smelling good. That's a good color that we're looking for. And it's rising nice and slow. Maybe one last time here. That's okay if it gets hissy at you. I ain't a cat, I ain't gonna scratch you. Just make sure you keep your hands out of the mixture because it is hot, honey. It's hotter than a club in Georgia when I'm the opening act. You understand me? Alright, we're just about up to about 250 here. This thing may be slightly off. I did not calibrate it quite right last night. So we might be, I think we're actually a little bit further than that. I think we're off about 10 to 15 degrees, unfortunately. But our mixture is still looking good. Getting a tiny bit of browning in there, but that's fine. All in all, this process should take about 10 minutes. Or less, depending on how your sugar cooks up. But if it takes a while to hit the temperature, it's fine. Though if your sugar starts to get a little bit more brown than you want, then that's fine to take it off the heat too. We'd rather have slightly less cooked than slightly burnt. Nobody wants burnt sugar, honey. Nobody. No, thank you. And now, about this time, our water should be about cooked out. So this is just our sugar and our corn sugar cooking down together. And you need to be very careful that it doesn't burn. Keep your eyes peeled on that sugar. Okay, it's starting to get a little bit brown. That's pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out. That's what she said. And we're going to go ahead and turn our heat on low and pour this out into our two other pans. I'm going to divide it into thirds. And then we're going to go ahead and add our flavor in. I'll put the grape in here. Now these are each dram bottles, so one of these is about a cup or so. And this is going to be strawberry. favorite, if you couldn't tell. And this last one's going to be watermelon. You know, we people in the South, we love our melons. Water and the other variety. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of food coloring. Not too much, because having that translucency is nice, honey. I do enjoy it. And make this a little bit lighter. There we go. And put a nice grapey color. There we go. Now, we're going to just use some plain spoons and give these a stir. It's going to be a lot of steam coming up, and you do not, honey, do not want to put the hot sugar on top of your coloring and your flavoring. That is, put in sugar first, add coloring and sugar, or coloring and flavor after, because it will boil it all over the place and you will make a mess, honey. Oof. Yes, you will. Now, I have these burners up a little bit, just on low, to keep this sugar mixture from setting before we have a chance to pour it in to a mold. Alright. And this is still very warm, so we don't really have to worry about that too much. There we go. Now that is beautiful, honey. I might put a little bit more yellow in there just to differentiate it from our lovely, lovely strawberry. Yeah, you can hear it hitting the hot pots of the pan. That's all that is. No need to stress about it. Alright. Now, that's not a good idea. That didn't work, did it? Woo. Alright. Okay. Now we have our molds all set up here with our sticks inside. I got the sticks when I got the molds, so it was a nice package. Some of them even come with plastic wrap. You can, little gift bags you can wrap around. It's a very pretty, nice little touch there. About a spoonful in each. You can go ahead and fill these up if you want to. Ain't gonna hurt nothing. In fact, it might help keep the sticks in there, because the sticks is a little bit shallow, we'll say. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna put that back on the heat. Alright. And get our grape here. Get our grape on. Oh yeah. See, honey, that is why I lip sync. Do not judge me. I'm gonna make a bit of a mess. Sugar is a little persnickety, you know, just like the best of us, honey. I know I have my share of persnickety. And I have no complaints so far, though. You understand? Okay. May look ugly now, but they're gonna look beautiful when we pull them out of the heat. Pull them out of the molds. We already pulled them out of the heat. What am I saying? Ooh. I think that heat has gotten to my head. Which I have never heard any complaints about, honey, if you understand what I mean. Okay. And we can come back with our some of our watermelon here. Now always check your package directions for how much flavoring you need. In this case it was a single bottle, but it's a very tiny bottle, so that's okay. It makes a nice amount. Okay. We'll come back with our strawberry. There we go. Let's finish this up. Whoops. Okay. And that grape for the last two. Get nice and filled up there. Alright. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make some freeform. If you don't want to buy molds, that's okay. I got some parchment paper wrapped around my cutting board. We're just going to go ahead and make a bit of a mess, because that's always fun. All you have to do, kind of drop them down like cookie batter. Go ahead and stick in there. Now, when making this method, sometimes it's better if you take your sugar and you put it in, dip it down into, I can't do this at the same time, into a bowl of ice water and stop the cooling process faster so it doesn't run all over your paper. It'll be a little bit more set up for you. Go ahead and turn that off. And just be in a little bit of a pan. Doesn't want to come off the spoon. There we go. These are going to be a little bit more ugly than the other ones. Maybe help this along a little bit. Whoop, there we go. They'll still taste good. They'll just be ugly. Oh, that's a comment I left on my last Tinder date. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and let these set up for a little bit. You can stick them in the fridge if you want, but I wouldn't do that for about a half an hour until they harden up some, and we'll see you back there. Before we let these cool the whole way, one more thing you need to keep in mind. You're probably thinking to myself, alright, I made lollipops, great. Now I have a bunch of colorful glue, sugar glue, stuck to my pans. Well, that is annoying, believe me. But the best way to do it is to put more water and some dish soap in there. Put it back on the burner. Oh, things in this kitchen are falling everywhere, honey. Oh my God. Alright. Put some dish soap, some water, put it back on the heat, and it'll help dissolve all that sugar. And you can just rinse it down the drain, honey. It's going to take a while. Just be patient. That's the name of this episode, be patient. So, you be patient, and we will be back when these beauties are finished setting up. Bye, y'all. Okay, everyone, we're back. And look at these beauties that we made. We had some fun doing it, huh? Now, these were the freeform ones that we made on our parchment. We can go ahead and demold our extra pretty ones. Oh, look at that, honey. Oh, well, isn't that just too much? Now, if you want, while you're mixing your colors and your flavors together in that phase, you can add, if you want a little extra sour, you can add either some citric acid that you can buy online, or you can put a little bit of lemon juice in there, and it'll bump up the sour. Oh, unfortunately, this poor little one lost its stick. I do not understand, but I'm sure it sucks. And also, something fun to try, if you have little ones prone to sore throats, and if they do not like eating, taking medication, substitute honey for your corn syrup. Cook it down as normal and add some dried lavender and flowers and mint leaves, and it'll help soothe their throat the natural way. Plus, they think they're getting a treat out of it, honey. It's all good. Ooh. This looks me after my cruise, honey. It was not pretty. All right. Now, there we go. Let's hear it for silicone, honey. Good for more than just that. Anyway, now, if they're a little bit sticky still, you can take some powdered sugar, or add some citric acid at this point and be like Sour Patch Kids. We're going to just take a little bit of sugar with our brush, give it a little bit of a brushing. We don't want it to go too heavy. And that'll help with any stickiness problems you have. If it didn't quite set up right, or you put a little bit too much oil in the mold, it is not a problem at all. We'll just give it a little brush. Woo! It's a little brush. Woo-hoo-hoo! And that'll take care of any problems we have. And that, ooh, as they say, is that. So, thank you again for joining me on this show, the Kiki Show, the Kitchen Witches. Oh, it's all good, you know. And from my heart to yours, I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day. And we'll see you next time I'm in town.